Almost nobody talking about cocoa and cellular cleanup starts with the three sealed tins on the counter. One tin carries a mouse symbol, one carries a dose dial, one carries a test seal. The labels stay face down for now. Your cells have their own cleanup crew. They have their own recycling room. They have their own lock on the door. One feature makes that lock unusually hard to judge from a scoop of brown powder. The last damaged part a cell wants to keep can become the first part it needs to clear. But cocoa can touch that system in 4 distinct ways, and only one is direct evidence of autophagy. That difference can save you from buying more when more may be the mistake. The invisible force here is category blur, a mouse mechanism, a short human response, a long human outcome, and a product safety test can all become one vague promise online. The promise grows, the evidence does not. The scoop count says one thing, the cell state says something else. We will walk from the first swallow to the claim you actually care about. This takes a few steps because the mechanism is where the useful limits live. The evidence mix is unusually revealing. It includes animal mechanism studies, short human trials, long human randomized trials, pooled human analyses, and a laboratory survey of retail products. Each type answers a different question. The first swallow. Cocoa contains flavanols, a family of plant compounds. Epicatechin is one member of that family, and the molecule at the center of the autophagy claim. That is one checkable detail before you ever buy a tub. A label that says cocoa percentage does not tell you its measured flavanol content. Think of a warehouse with a locked loading door. The scoop reaches the building. It does not prove the door opened. That deferred detail matters. We will come back to what a label can prove when the test seal turns over. The scoop count is not the cell state. The mouse switch. In a 2025 animal study, epicatechin helped clear tau in mice bred to develop dementia-like tangles by inhibiting mTOR and activating autophagy. When researchers chemically blocked autophagy, the benefit disappeared. Tau is a protein that can form damaging tangles. mTOR is a nutrient-sensing switch that normally applies a brake to cellular recycling. The door opened in mice. That is real mechanism evidence. It is not a human outcome. This distinction does not take anything away from the study. It protects what the study actually found. Mechanism studies are valuable because they can remove a part and watch the chain break. That is what happened when autophagy was blocked. Human outcome trials do a different job. They ask whether a result people can feel or measure survives across many complicated lives. Both belong in the picture. They cannot trade names. If you expected cocoa to reproduce fasting in a human brain, your effort was not foolish. The category was simply too broad. The second animal clue. A 2021 mouse study gave cocoa flavanols for 15 days. Mitochondrial mass and NAD+ rose in muscle, while glucose tolerance improved. Those changes vanished in mice engineered without SIRT3, a protein that helps mitochondria manage stress and energy. In plain language, the researchers removed one worker from the warehouse and the whole improvement stopped. That makes SIRT3 part of the route. It still does not tell us that a cocoa drink creates fasting without fasting in people. The pathway says one thing, a human result may say something else. 2 animal studies now point toward cellular housekeeping. The next tin tells us what survived contact with thousands of people. The short human glow. Small, short trials can make cocoa look impressive. They can detect changes in blood flow, insulin resistance, or timed thinking tasks within weeks. One controlled trial put 90 healthy older adults on daily drinks containing 993,520 or 48 milligrams of cocoa flavanols for 8 weeks. The higher groups improved more on timed tasks and word fluency and about 17% of the cognitive change tracked with improved insulin resistance. That is a signal, not a verdict. The source summary provides no adverse event data for those high and intermediate drinks. A measured response does not erase the need for a safety record. The timer says one thing. The lasting outcome says something else. The first false dawn. Across 42 acute or short human trials involving 1,297 people, chocolate, cocoa, and flavanols improved insulin resistance and artery function. Every included trial lasted 18 weeks or less, and the evidence was graded low to moderate quality. The loading door moved. We still do not know what reached the far side of the warehouse years later. Doses above 50 milligrams of epicatechin produced larger blood pressure effects in that analysis. Its safety summary found no suggestion of negative effects, but long-term safety was outside the study window. Short trials answer whether a marker can move. Long trials answer whether life changes. That gap is the first turn in the story. The long trial. The largest test randomized 21,442 older adults to a cocoa extract with 500 milligrams of flavanols, including 80 milligrams of epicatechin, or placebo. Over 3.6 years, the primary outcome of total cardiovascular events was not significantly reduced. The hazard ratio was 0.90, with a confidence interval crossing no effect and a p-value of 0.11. Cardiovascular deaths were 27% lower, but that was a secondary result. It deserves interest, not promotion into the result the trial was built to prove. This is where restraint builds trust. A secondary result can be a useful clue for later work. It cannot quietly replace the primary result after the trial ends. The difference sounds procedural. It protects you from a story selected after all the numbers are visible. The trial reported no safety concerns at that dose over 3.6 years in adults aged 60 and over. The capsule says one thing, the primary outcome says something else. That is the first act of the evidence. From switch to outcome, three unknowns still decide whether cocoa belongs in your routine: claim, amount, and product. The memory test. The same daily 500 milligrams met a more specific human question. In Cosmos Mind, 2,262 older adults took cocoa extract or placebo for 3 years. Cocoa did not improve the primary measure of global cognition. The mean difference was 0.03 standard units, with a confidence interval from negative 0.02 to positive 0.08. That is close to no clear separation. The study summary does not give adverse event data. Its null result means no cognitive benefit was shown. It does not, by itself, prove harm or complete safety. This is where the same property that makes the claim difficult also makes the answer useful. A precise outcome can resist hype because it forces the promise through one narrow door. The scoop count is not the cell state. The diabetes test. Short studies had improved insulin numbers. SO researchers tested whether that translated into fewer new cases of type 2 diabetes. Among 18,381 adults without diabetes at enrollment, 500 milligrams of cocoa flavanols per day did not reduce diabetes over 3.5 years. The adjusted hazard ratio was 1.04, with 801 cases reported. The direction pointed slightly the wrong way, but the confidence interval included no difference. Therefore, the honest verdict is no demonstrated prevention benefit. The study summary reports no safety signal. Again, absence of benefit and evidence of harm are different findings. The marker says one thing, the diagnosis says something else. The second tin is about to turn, but its dial does not rise forever. The curved response. A 2019 meta-analysis pooled 15 published articles with 18 intervention arms. artery function improved by 1.17 percentage points, but the response formed an inverted U, with the best estimated effect near 710 milligrams of total flavanols. Above that point, the estimated benefit fell away. That is the reversal. More powder can move you farther from the top of the curve. An inverted U looks like a hill rather than a staircase. The left side rises, the top marks the best estimate, and the right side slopes down. Marketing likes staircases because every larger number appears better. Biology often draws hills. The review also found substantial unexplained variation and a high risk of bias in most included studies. Its safety summary did not provide adverse event data, so the curve is a provisional guide, not a personal dose order. The dial climbs. The useful signal may not. The blood pressure scale. A Cochrane review combined 35 randomized trials with 1,804 mainly healthy participants. Across products delivering 30 to 1,218 milligrams of flavanols per day, blood pressure fell by about 1.76 millimeters of mercury over 2 to 18 weeks. Small, measurable, limited. People with high blood pressure saw about a 4 millimeter reduction in systolic pressure. People whose pressure was already normal saw no significant difference. The same review found stomach complaints and nausea in 1% of active cocoa participants and 0.4% of controls. The serving says one thing, your starting condition says something else. The field did not fail. The shorthand failed to keep the starting condition attached. The normal pressure subgroup. A newer long trial sharpened that point without making it simple. Among 8,905 Cosmos participants free from hypertension, 500 milligrams of cocoa flavanols had no significant overall effect on developing high blood pressure over 3.4 years. In the subgroup starting below 120 systolic, risk was 24% lower. In those starting from 120 to 139, there was no benefit. The subgroup finding became visible at year 2. The trial summary reports no safety concern at 500 milligrams per day in older adults, but a subgroup remains a subgroup. It should guide another test, not become a guarantee. One amount, different starting states. The scoop count is not the cell state. The myth breaks here. The familiar claim says cocoa activates autophagy, so adding enough cocoa should imitate part of a fast. The first half has a real mouse mechanism behind it. But the controlled human evidence measures different outcomes, and it does not show fasting-like cellular cleanup in people. Human autophagy remains unproven here. The controlled variable matters because researchers changed cocoa exposure and compared it with placebo. Long trials still missed cognition, diabetes prevention, and the main cardiovascular target. Treating all of those outcomes as one benefit is like using a warehouse light switch to certify every parcel inside. A pathway can open a door, it cannot sign every delivery receipt. The 3 conditions. First, the claim must match the evidence type. The tau cleanup result belongs to mice. Second, the amount must match the outcome. Human artery function followed a curve, while long-term cognition and diabetes did not improve at 500 milligrams. Third, the product itself must be trustworthy. That last condition changes the mood because the powder can carry more than flavanols. A 2024 laboratory survey followed 72 dark chocolate and cocoa products sold in the United States over 8 years. 43% exceeded California's lead limit per serving, and 35% exceeded its cadmium limit. Organic products were significantly more likely to exceed those limits. The test seal is the third tin. That survey does not say every product is contaminated. It says appearance and category were poor screening tools in that sample. The useful response is verification, not panic. The negative peak gets an allowance. You do not need a perfect global database before drinking cocoa. You need enough evidence to stop treating the front label as a laboratory report. This is more than the same cocoa at a larger dose. It is a different decision state. Picture two anonymous people at the same kitchen counter. Each stirs one level scoop into a mug. The color matches, the routine matches, the confidence feels identical. One person can see a current independent report for the exact product and lot. The other can see only cocoa percentage and marketing words. That pair is illustrative. It is not clinical proof of a health difference. I used to treat darker chocolate and a higher cacao percentage as useful stand-ins for flavanol content. Reading these trials changed my confidence in that shortcut. That is a personal correction, not evidence. The label says one thing, the verified contents may say something else. Guess before I say it, which of these do you think moves the needle most? Put your answer below. Claim, amount, product. One tells you what was actually tested. One keeps a curved response from becoming a race upward. One keeps the scoop connected to what is inside it. No single piece can carry the promise alone. No mouse pathway proves a human outcome. No human average proves your starting state. No dark wrapper proves a clean or measured powder. Precision protects the benefit. Precision also protects you from the near miss. The three exact checks, the three common traps, and the name of the method come next. Before the method, consider the shelf most people have faced. A tub says antioxidant support. A capsule says concentrated extract. A chocolate bar leads with a cacao percentage. The standard advice to choose darker cocoa is understandable. It is also incomplete. This is not a story about bad motives. Different studies ask different questions, while packaging compresses them into one easy benefit. One structural fact shows the cost. The largest human trial enrolled 21,442 adults, yet it still missed its primary cardiovascular outcome. 21,442. That is the scale required to test the promise marketing can imply in 6 words. The final method puts the 3 tins in order. Now use the MAP. MAP means match the claim, aim by the outcome, and pick a tested product. 3 components. Each gets a specific number because vague is not actionable. The picture on the counter now has a name. The mouse symbol marks mechanism. The dial marks amount. The seal marks product evidence. This method does not promise human autophagy. It stops an animal mechanism from silently turning into that promise. Means match. Match every claim to the strongest study that directly tested it. For autophagy, the exact number is 1 human outcome trial in this fact set. 0. The direct tau cleanup evidence comes from a 2025 mouse model. Blocking autophagy erased the benefit, which makes the mechanism compelling and specific. Specific is the key word. The experiment supports a chain from epicatechin to mTOR, from mTOR to autophagy, and from autophagy to tau clearance in that model. It does not measure your cells after breakfast. Practically, enjoy cocoa as food if it fits your life, but do not describe it as proven fasting without fasting for human cells. The failure case is borrowing certainty from the word autophagy while dropping the word mice. The minimum effective claim is the claim the study can carry. Mouse mechanism, human unknown. A means aim. Aim the amount at the outcome you care about, not at the biggest number on a label. The artery function meta-analysis placed its estimated peak near 710 milligrams of total flavanols. The largest long trials used 500 milligrams daily and did not improve cognition, diabetes incidence, or the primary cardiovascular outcome. That comparison prevents false arithmetic. 710 is not an autophagy target, and 500 is not a failed universal dose. The common trap is doubling a serving because the first serving felt harmless. For dosed cocoa, worth asking your doctor about interactions with your medications and conditions. None of these population results can clear a dose for your body. If blood pressure is already low, if you are managing blood sugar, or if a clinician has asked you to limit a food, the population average does not overrule that context. The right move is to carry the exact product and amount into the conversation. If you cannot verify flavanol content, the honest fallback is not to guess upward. The minimum effective aim is measured restraint. The scoop count is not the cell state. P means pick. Pick a product with current independent testing for lead and cadmium, ideally tied to the exact lot you are buying. The relevant number is 72 products. In that laboratory survey, 43% exceeded California's lead limit and 35% exceeded its cadmium limit per serving. That turns an abstract risk into a shelf rule. Cocoa percentage, organic status, and a premium price are not substitutes for a report. The failure case is the universally trusted word organic. In this sample, organic products were more likely to exceed the metal limits. If a company cannot show a current report, choose a smaller serving or another product instead of treating darkness as proof. A report also needs a date and a product match. A beautiful certificate for a different powder or an old lot leaves the same gap. You are checking evidence of contents, not collecting a trust badge. The minimum effective proof is a result for the product in your hand. The cleanup pathway is interesting. Verification keeps the interest grounded. The map is more fragile than it sounds. The most common failure is letting one card answer for another. A mouse icon becomes a human promise. A dose dial becomes a target. A clean-looking package becomes a test seal. That can happen when you are tired, when a sale ends tonight, or when a capsule offers the relief of one clean number. You are not careless. The categories were designed to blur in ordinary language. Keep one named concept: evidence matching. It means the study type, measured outcome, and product all have to match the sentence you are about to believe. The minimum effective version takes 10 seconds. Name the claim, find the outcome, check the product. This is not perfection. It is enough friction to interrupt the pattern. Your expectation can now become more precise. Cocoa flavanols may influence cellular housekeeping pathways. Epicatechin switched on autophagy and cleared tau in a mouse model, and that benefit vanished when autophagy was blocked. Human trials show something narrower. They show short-term changes in artery function and some markers, mixed or null long-term outcomes, a response that may peak instead of climbing forever, and a real product testing problem. That is the honest meaning of cocoa flavanols and autophagy without fasting. Match the claim. Aim by the outcome. Pick a tested product. One mouse mechanism, about 710 milligrams at the estimated artery response peak, 500 milligrams in long trials that missed several major outcomes, 72 retail products in the metal survey. The mouse symbol, the dial, and the seal now face up. The scoop count says one thing. The cell state says something else. Those four distinctions are what stop more cocoa from becoming the mistake. Add it up, and the answer is not complicated. Cocoa is food with interesting biology. Its clearest autophagy result is in mice. Human benefits depend on the outcome, starting state, amount, and time window. More is not automatically better. Product testing belongs in the health decision. The papers behind all of this are linked in the description below, in the order I mentioned them. This is education, not a plan for your body. Someone who knows your history should sign off on anything you change. The next one takes apart T catechins, and the label can hide the dose there too. If you want that next evidence map, stay with the channel. Your comments also show me which claims deserve the next source audit. For today, turn over the 3 cards. Match, aim, pick. That is enough to keep a promising mouse mechanism promising, a human result human, and your cocoa serving measured.